The saying goes that the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, but fortunately this weekend we're in the Catalan capital, the city of Barcelona, to the northwest of Spain, this famous Grand Prix circuit for the final round of the 2021 International GTOpen Championship. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, welcome to Spain, a glorious day here in Barcelona. Ian Salvestrin with you in commentary, joined once again by Ida Wood, ready for the first of our two races here this weekend. Thankfully, finally, in front of a good growing crowd of spectators who are enjoying the sunshine and will soon enjoy the 29 GT supercars making their way out onto the circuit for the first of our two races this weekend. We had qualifying this morning. Jim Pla for the ACA Sport Team taking pole position, absolutely stunning on debut in the GTOpen International Championship. And he will start from grid one alongside the championship leader, Frederick Schandorf in car 63, who is looking to win the championship this weekend. We'll be back tomorrow morning for qualifying 2 and race 2 tomorrow afternoon, as you look at one of the AF Corsa Ferraris come out onto the circuit. Great to have the AF Corsa team back with us in GTOpen International Championship. They've had 3 cars entered or race or turn up here this weekend. Let me explain. Car 51, that is a replacement car after they had a big crash on Thursday. And so a new car was shipped in from Italy overnight. We will also decide the GT Cup Open Championship. So it is the race within the race. The GT Cup cars are primarily made up of GT4 spec cars, racing wheel to wheel with the GT3 cars. As you may remember in Monza, when we raced under, well, it was just plain wet in Monza a few weeks ago, and the GT4 Cup cars actually led outright. The McLaren team from Inception Racing, Optimum Motorsport, they're back with us as well. Nick Mice to start out of grid 6. This is the second of the AF Corsa cars. Car 52 and 51. 52, Cedric Spirizzoli from Monte Carlo, and just behind him is the Omani, Al Faisal Al Zubair, who is sharing the Lechner Racing Porsche with Andy Soucek, who is still in with a chance just of claiming the 2021 championship. So Frederick Schandorf on your screen in car 63, that's his teammate Yuki Nomoto behind him. He'll start directly behind him on the grid, the VSR Lamborghinis out of grids 2 and 4 respectively. Schandorf sharing the car with Michele Beretta, looking to claim the title. A good result here this afternoon. We believe 4th place would be enough for the Dane and the Italian to take the title back to Italy and Lamborghini and Vincenzo Sospiri Racing.
Yep, and the team and the driver have had success here before. Obviously, Schandorf won at Barcelona in 2019. At the time, he was alongside Thomas Tuchler and number 66, Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini. Now he has a different teammate. But, you know, it's the same competitivity. And last year, and this is going to be really interesting because we've got a slightly reprofiled circuit, but we had one of the most dramatic conclusions to essentially a GTOpen season possible, where we had one of the title contenders being held up by a rival team that was a lap down and just would refuse to let them pass. And it went on for a very long time and it caused all sorts of chaos. And then on the very last lap of the race, if memory serves me right, we had a collision between our 2 title contenders, and you know, you can watch it on YouTube if you want to, but hopefully we won't have that again this year. But with the reprofiled turn 10, it's going to be a slightly different track for overtaking here. Turn 1's an obvious one, heavy braking, really easy to you know, go down the inside. And similarly, at the very end of the lap, you've got a chicane as well. If you can get the car on the inside, you can do that there as well. But turn 10 is an uphill hairpin. And we haven't really seen GT cars go around it in competition yet. We saw them in qualifying, and we did actually see a Ferrari and an Audi collide there during a qualifying run. So we might see a lot of action at that corner later today.
Certainly with the GT Cup class cars racing together with the GT3, GTOpen cars. Look at the magnificent Lamborghini team of Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, looking to take the title this weekend. And of course, great to see the Nissan back on the grid, the GTR, even if it is in the form of the safety car at the center of your screen.
But we are well aware that Nissan is developing a new GTR, which could possibly be coming to race in Europe in the future. The two Vincenzo Sospiri Lambos are the very last onto the grid. Slightly ominous, that is. And you can see them guiding their way through. It's almost as if, you know, it's an actual bull run in Spain, you know, the streets are lined with the people and the other cars and the Olymp Racing Audis, and the two Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lambos kind of rev their engines and show their horns and go to the end of the bull run, which is about 40 meters forward, just behind the start gantry at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya.
The menacing green machine, or Lamborghini machines. I was going to make a reference, something like Moses parting the Red Sea, as they line up on grids 2 and 4. Frederick Schandorf in car 63. He won the 2019 Pro-Am Championship and looking to take the Pro Championship. We'll go through the points for you. We'll go through the grid for you. This is the first of our 2 races here this weekend. This is a 70-minute race, and tomorrow, slightly shorter, 60 minutes. I know we've just referenced it, but yes, let's hope the Nissan is back on the grid. We've got one sole Japanese entrant, just the sole Honda NSX, Jens Renault Moller, but of course Honda have also developed a new, or homologated a new spec NSX for GT3 racing through to 2024. This is the pole setter, Jim Pla, spectacular in qualifying this morning to take pole position, a time of 1:43.152. Frederick Schandorf, the Great Dane, the title favourite, out of grid 2, sharing the car, of course, with Michele Beretta, the former champion. Car 63 for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing, and then the 2Cs Motorsport Bahraini English team with the Canadian and Croatian drivers here in the northwest of Spain, Ethan Simeoni, Martin Kodric. They took that stunning victory at Monza a few weeks ago. They line up on grid 3 alongside Yuki Nomoto, who is back from a quick trip home to Japan in the last few weeks. He's back with us in Spain. It wasn't such a big deal a while back. We slowly get life back to normal. This is Jan Seifert. So we've got 3 Lamborghinis inside the top 5. A great run from Jan in qualifying this morning. A 1:44.263, and then Nick Moss, who had an off into the gravel yesterday, recovered superbly. The 72 Inception Racing McLaren starts out on the outside of the 3rd row of the grid. And this is the only other driver that can take the championship away from Schandorf and Beretta. Well, his teammate Al-Faisal Al-Zubair from Oman, the 23-year-old. So much experience racing in Porsche, GT3 racing, Carrera Cup, the Super Cup as well. He will hand over to Andy Soucek halfway through the race. We'll take a look at the highlights of what happened a few weeks ago at the Temple of Speed in the north of Italy at Monza. Down into the first corner, there was chaos. Brendan Leach, the Kiwi, had a stunning drive on debut in GTOpen International as one of the McLarens lost a door early on. Benyahites and Fabrizio Crestani worked their way up through the field. Jacopo Guidetti also making his debut in GTOpen International on the podium in the Honda NSX, but Kodric and Simeoni took the victory for 2Cs Motorsports. It started to rain and rain hard in race 2. Simeoni and Kodric, they look good to go 2 in a row in 24 hours early on in the race. But Benyahites and Fabrizio Crestani just picked them off one by one in atrocious conditions in the 73 Ferrari. Nick Moss going round in the 72 McLaren. And of course, chaos down in the pits. Antonelli Motorsport going wheel to wheel with HP Racing in pit lane. But it was the Ferrari, the which won at Monza, Crestani and Benyahites from South America taking the victory in the 3rd last race of the season. These are the points. Schandorf and Beretta on 130 each. Andy Soucek, he's in 2nd place on 108 points, so that's 22 behind. Then we go to Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, his teammate, 4th on 90 points. Welcome to a beautiful sunny day here in Spain as we look at the grid for you. On pole position, Jim Pla for the ACA Motorsport team alongside the championship leader Frederick Schandorf. Martin Kodric for 2Cs Motorsport out of 3, and the 2nd VSR Lamborghini of the Japanese driver Yuki Nomoto. Jan Seifert in another Lamborghini is alongside the Brits. Nick Moss for Inception Racing in the McLaren. Then we go to Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, Cedric Spirituali from Monte Carlo out of grid 8. Brendan Irebe in the second McLaren, the American out of 9 alongside Florian Schultz for Antonelli Motorsport, Marcin Jedlinski. Jens Renault Moller in the sole Honda here this weekend, car 11 out of 12. Then we go to Sean Balfe for Balfe Motorsport, back with us, sharing that car with Adam Carroll. Michael Dinan, the American, takes over the wheel of the Aston Martin. Johan Font, the Spanish driver, out of 15 alongside Mario Hirsch. In another Mercedes, Jan Lauritsen in the GT Cup car, and Dino Zamparelli are back with us in GTOpen International. Maciej Blacek, Philip Dunkens from Belgium in car 50, yet another Porsche car. August Macbeth and Nicolas van Dierendonk, who had a stunning run last time out at Monza, starts out at grid 22. Jan Antoszewski, Maciej Darmetko. The Poles run 1, 2, 3, 4 in the GT Cup category. Fernando Fortes, Stanislav Jedlinski in the second Olymp Racing entry. Mario is next on the grid. Jay Schreibman and Stefano Bozzoni in the 44 Kame car rounds out the field. A fabulous sight here in Barcelona for the final round of the 2021 International GTOpen Championship. Jens Renault Moller goes through in the Sol 11 Honda NSX. We'll see if they can make their way up onto the podium here this afternoon. A fantastic sight. The grandstands are slowly, slightly starting to fill here. The final round of the 2021 GTOpen International Championship. The Nissan GTR Godzilla, the supercar. The safety car will pull into pit lane with the Lamborghini and Mercedes immediately behind. Jim Pla, who took pole position this morning with a time of 1:43.152 to the left of your screen. The championship leader to the right, that is the Great Dane Frederick Schandorf, who can win the 2021 championship here this afternoon. Race 1 of 2 here this weekend at the home of the Spanish Formula One Grand Prix. And we race. Nice start from Jim Pla. Martin Kodric immediately down the inside, and the Croatian is in the grass. Thankfully, the pit lane apron comes to his aid. And a good start from Frederick Schandorf, his teammate Yuki Nomoto right behind. Martin Kodric was almost up into second place. The Croatian goes back to P5. Jim Pla from pole position leads the way. It is getting messy further back in the pack. As they go up into Repsol corner for the first time, it is Jim Pla who leads the way. Schandorf, Nomoto, there is Kodric. Superstar from Spiritswalla. We've got bodywork flying further in the background. For the moment, they make it through relatively cleanly. That's Kodric as we lose one of the Porsches out in the gravel. That is the championship contender, Al-Faisal Al-Zubair.
Yeah, that's the Lechner Racing Porsche, and we've just seen someone drop wheels into the gravel as well. So we've got 2 of our main contenders have just gone off, and that's Jens Renault Moller spinning. He is one of the leading Pro-Am class cars. He's going to take to the grass to try and turn it around. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair has now dropped way outside the top 10. We're on board with him now. Currently facing the rear of a Mercedes. Now, actually, at the start, someone lost part of a splitter. It just flew off into the air and bounced off a car on the rolling start. So that'll be potentially worrying for whoever has lost that. We're going to look at the number 7 of Brendan Irebe, currently in 9th place. So, Pro-Am class battle is all ahead of Al-Faisal Al-Zubair now. They've got no obligation really to let him through, even though they're fighting for different honours. Jim Pla is going to come to the end of this first lap in the lead for the ACA ASP team, just ahead of the 2 Lamborghinis. It looks like Schandorf, and anything can happen, but Schandorf is probably on course to the title right now.
Is that the end of the championship for Andy Soucek, who saw that happen down in pit lane? His teammate Al-Faisal Al-Zubair out wide on the opening lap of the race, which they're about to complete now. So Jim Pla under attack already from Frederick Schandorf, Yuki Nomoto, P3 Kodric, superstar from Cedric Spiritswalla, Jan Seifert, that's the Green Tiger in at 17 going through, Florian Schultz, and the 2 McLarens. A nice start from there. Nick Moss, P8, right ahead of his teammate, the American Brendan Irebe. Spiritswalla goes through in P5.
Yeah, Jens Renault Moller has now dropped completely to last place at the back of this 29 car field. Should be easy, fairly easy to overtake the GT Cup Open Europe cars, but up front, Jim Pla is really under pressure with Schandorf. He was looking at the inside of Teferi, then turn 4, is coming downhill now. Isn't really room to overtake. You can see he's right in his wheel tracks, almost invisible in the mirrors. He's that close. Jim Pla jinking around, trying to see where Schandorf is behind him, coming back up the hill now. He's going to look for the grip as they go up, and probably the third Lamborghini, or the second Lamborghini, but in third place right now. Yuki Nimoto can just relax because he's got third place secured. He can just watch these two battle up front and then pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong.
A conservative approach for Frederick Schandorf into the final round of the championship. No way, says Frederick. He is all over the back of the French driver, Jim Pla. That's his teammate, Yuki Nimoto. And Martin Kodrich, after that fantastic victory at Monza, initially off the jump was into P2, ran out of road. He's now settled down in P4 and starting to catch the trio who run 1, 2, 3 down into the chicane. Jim Pla trying to find a rhythm and defend from the two green V10 powered Lamborghinis right behind. They come through turn 16. The Michelin tyres now up to temperature on a glorious day here in Spain. Spirituali in the background has a big moment and gives hope for Jan Safer. Behind them it's Florian Schultz for Antonelli Motorsport. Nick Moss, Brendan Irid, Michael Dynan, the second American, rounds out the top 10. Jim Pla still holds the lead. So a fantastic start for race one, the final round of the 2021 International GTOpen Championship here in Spain.
Now Faisal Al-Zubair's made up another spot. He's gone up to 11th place, but he's already 10 seconds behind the lead of this race. So it's going to be very difficult for him to reclaim that because the recent success that car has had, the success handicap at the pit stop is going to be fairly large. So they're not really going to be able to make up that time during the driver change window. Jim Pla's got 4/10 of a second lead ahead of Schandorf. Schandorf looks particularly strong through this first sector, really gets onto the rear of the Mercedes, but then it looks like the tyres potentially just get a little hot by the time they reach the final sector, and he has to back off a bit to then be ready to attack again for the next lap. And after 2 laps, I mean, the battles have already opened up. Normally in GTOpen we've got the top 10 very, very close at this point, but we can only see the top 4 in frame right now.
And Spirituali just ahead of Jan Safer behind them. Florian Schultz for Antonelli Motorsport, Nick Moss, Brendan Irid, Michael Dynan, Faisal Al-Zubair after being in the gravel. On the opening lap, he's in position 11. That is the only other car which can take the championship away from Vincenzo Sospiri Racing as Jim Pla, the back of the car on the absolute ragged edge, turned in. It started to step out, nicely controlled by the French driver. The pro cars run 1, 2, 3, 4. Spirituali leads the Pro-Am category, and Jan Lauritsen, he's in 15th outright in this 29 car field, and he leads Dino Zamparelli as Jan Safer goes through the magnificently presented HP Racing International car.
And Jan Antonuski has stopped at the escape road at turn 9, so that is at the top of the hill where, you know, if you do run wide, you can go through the gravel and then onto a little bit of asphalt at the very top of the circuit. Further ahead of them, Jens Renault Moller's made up another 3 places. He's in 22nd now, but still way down in the Pro-Am class battle. We're looking actually at the leaders of that class. Spirituali, Jan Safer, Florian Schultz and Nick Moss covered very, very closely, with Michael Dynan in the Ferrari chasing behind as well. See, actually someone's lost a lot of places. At the left of the screen, all those green squares shows people who have gained a position on this most recent lap.
Michael Dynan takes over the wheel of the Aston Martin, which won at the Red Bull Ring in once again atrocious conditions, which we also had at Monza. As you ride on board with the Omani Faisal Al-Zubair, car 77, the Lechner Racing Porsche. That is the Red Bull race winning car. TF Sport, the Aston Martin car 97, superbly presented. 2 new drivers this weekend. Michael Dynan behind the wheel in position 10 at the moment, trying to chase down Brendan Irid, Nick Moss in the 2 McLarens. Down the inside, Faisal Al-Zubair not waiting, desperately trying to recover the time lost on the opening lap of the race. Car 77 in position 11.
Yeah, so he's got a queue of 4 cars ahead of him right now, but Lechner Racing really needs to start thinking about strategy already, because he's stuck in traffic. He can't gain back that time, even if he's making overtakes on the leading group, who the ones he's fighting for the title, and the McLaren spun.
Moss goes around.
So he's lost 5 places there. That's helped Faisal Al-Zubair. It looked like a bit of the car had already come off as he span. So potentially there was some debris there. And you can see actually part of the splitter still on the pit straight from our lap 1 incident. They crossed the line to Jim Pla, 6/10 ahead of Frederick Schandorf. We are following the battle of Florian Schultz in 7th place, who has 5 cars within 2 seconds of him.
Al-Faisal Al-Zubair tried to go down the inside of Michael Dinan, and just ahead, Nick Moss, it looks as though he went around on his own. We'll see if there's damage. Oh no, not by his own. Tried to move down the inside, made contact. Wow, and make up your own mind.
Took off a bit of the front of the car as well. Looks like Al-Zubair's gone down the inside of the Aston. That is a great move, actually. So he is now up to 8th place, potentially, or certainly 9th, and he's closing in on the McLaren as well. I think some of those drivers are a little caught out with what happens at the end of that last lap. So Al-Zubair is now 17 seconds behind Jim Pla and Frederick Schandorf. Schandorf's just set the fastest first sector of anyone. He's faster than Jim Pla as well in the middle sector, so he's definitely closing in on the leader right now. We're looking at the number 7 of Brendan Irebe. He's 4th in the Pro-Am class battle. So Spirit Solly and Jan Safer have gone up the road, they've escaped. This is a battle for the final podium spot in Pro-Am, with Al-Zubair in the middle trying to really claw his way back up the order.
Smoke, we thought we saw smoke from one of the Mercedes a few laps ago. Definitely the Antonelli Motorsport did not want to say anything as they came down the straight, but look at this. Car 47 is smoking.
That is hazy from from the view of Al-Zubair. I would have thought that would just be a bit of tyre smoke because it looked fairly white, but...
Hopefully.
Yeah, and obviously the sidewall of the tyre gets really pressured, particularly when you've got sports cars have larger wheels and a smaller sidewall of the tyre. The bigger the sidewall, the more stability, and that means when you've got a really kind of high G-force corner there, not much stability.
Florian Schultz down the straight for the moment. It looks good. Right behind him is the American Brendan Irebe, who's doing a nice job. The McLaren attack was 2 inside the top 10. Nick Moss has only lost 4 or 5 positions. In position 13, is that smoke once again? That may well validate your comments a few moments ago, Ida, that it is just tyres rubbing on the bodywork. Of course, a full fuel load tank, so it was through the corner.
Yeah, you can see it on the entry. So the tyre is almost bending because of how much sideways force you're putting on it, lateral. And, you know, tyres aren't really designed to do that, although they're on racing cars. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair has a little look down the inside, and I think actually got crossed up on the brakes there, did Brendan Irebe, so that's going to allow Al-Zubair right down the inside. They're going to be side by side going down the hill. This kind of continuous curving straight, and he's already through as they go back up. Yeah, so he is now up to 8th place. Incident involving cars 11 and 97 at the start. That's under investigation. So that is Michael Dinan and car number 11, Jens Renaud Moller. So potentially, well, Jens Renaud Moller didn't spin at the start.
But certainly off the track.
Yeah, by around turn 4. And then 47 and 72 is, of course, what we saw at the final chicane.
Take a look at the replay. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair down the inside. Brendan Irebe tried to defend it. He was on the inside. That became the outside, and the Omani just accelerates, has the run, and the Porsche goes by and takes the McLaren. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair, who was in the gravel on the opening lap of the race, he was outside the top 10, fights back, and he's now in position 8. As we go back to the battle for the top position in race 1, round 7. This is the final, the championship final of the 2021 International GTOpen Championship. The French driver Jim Pla in position 1, Frederick Schandorf, the championship leader. In 2nd place, Yuki Nomoto, still defending from Martin Kodrich as the race settles down. We've only raced 6 laps as Schandorf burns the Michelin tyres under acceleration, locks up. He looks really aggressive here this afternoon, does Schandorf. Tries to take the lead. He does not need to win the race to win the championship, but he certainly wants to go out on a high. The Great Dane behind Jim Pla for Acker Motorsport.
And lost potentially a little bit of carbon fibre there on the curbs. You've got these huge sausage curbs from F1. It's particularly difficult for this Lamborghini to get past the Mercedes. We're seeing in the first sector is really closing up. Actually, we can see the reverse happening behind, where the Mercedes is getting closer in the 2nd and 3rd sectors. And actually, Kotric's going to have a look down the inside of turn 10. And this newer open turn 10 actually allows you to keep that line all the way back up the hill, still side by side. Oh! And Yuki Nomoto keeps it. They're rubbing rear to the front of those 2 cars. So the grille is right in the rear of the Lamborghini there. But good job by Nomoto to stay ahead. What I was going to say was that the Lamborghini kind of normally has the advantage in the first sector because Mercedes tends to understeer because of the front engine and there's more weight at the front, therefore the steering isn't quite as dynamic. But in the final sector, once the tyres are a little overheated, you're then going to have that advantage swap around as they cross the line 0.2 seconds between these two, but the gap between third and second now has really opened up.
Fantastic racing in race one, the final round of the GTOpen International Championship here in Barcelona in Spain. We've got a Mercedes leading two Lamborghinis and then another Mercedes which won at Monza. All over the back of the Japanese driver. Here comes the Croatian in the background, the Dane on the back of the French driver. A super international field in this International GTOpen Championship final. Jim Pla holding his own on debut in the series as Kodric tries to line up. Yuki Namoto dives down the inside, an ambitious move. Will he go in too deep? The answer is yes. They're side by side on the exit. Just awesome racing here in Spain. But the Croatian for 2C's Motorsport dives down the inside and takes the place. Nicely done by Martin Kodric. Goes up into third place. So we've got Mercedes leading Lamborghini, Mercedes in P3, and Yuki Namoto in the second Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini drops back to P4. Super move by Martin Kodric. Take a look at this. Yuki Namoto, the traditional liner, very late move up on the ripple strip, went in too deep, tried to control near on 600 horsepower. Side by side, he was on the outside, he became the inside, and Martin Kodric takes the place, moves up into P3 as the race leaders start to approach traffic.
Yeah, canny racecraft there. Acura ASP lead car Jim Pla goes right round the outside of the Porsche through that final corner. That's given him a little bit of an advantage over the Lamborghini. Further back, we've got our Pro-Am class battle. Spiritsoli only a second ahead of Jan Siefer in fifth place. They're so far back, we can't even see them in the rear of this frame. But Jens Renault Moller, I saw, is already up in 16th place. 6 laps to go, he was dead last, 29th place, over a minute behind, and now he's already up pretty much in the Pro-Am class battle for points position. So great job by our sole Honda entrant, although he's finding it a little difficult to overtake a few more of the cars at the top of this circuit. We're going to go back onto Jim Pla in the lead. Schandorf really gets close in that first sector, but then the Lamborghini, you know, the advantage just swaps around. The Mercedes has the power to go down the straight, the kind of the back straight here, and stay ahead through the final sector.
Schandorf, you can sense, wants to give it absolutely everything before handing over to Michele Beretta to leave nothing on the table or put all his cars up, whichever cliche you'd like to put forward. Schandorf wants to hand over in position one if possible and win it outright. Doesn't need to win the race to win the championship. The 2009 Pro-Am champion. Martin Kodric, look at that. He's certainly dropped off Schandorf's teammate Yuki Namoto. They go by Stefano Bozzoni, the Italian, in the 44 car, the Cup class car. He did the right thing, did Bozzoni. Further back in the pack, this is Jens Renault Moller, 2 into 1. Thanks very much, boys. And the Honda goes by and takes 2 Mercedes in one corner. Fantastic move. Jens Renault Moller from the back of the field. He was in the grass after contact on the opening lap of the race. Now up into position 14. In fact, as they come across the line, the timing screen should update and he may move up a couple of places with that move. That's a fantastic recovery from Jens Renault Moller, who will hand over to Marcus Pavarud as Jim Pla flashes the lights for the traffic coming down into turn 1. Schandorf all over the back of the pole sitter for Acca Racing.
And another really strong recovery is Al Faisal Al Zubair, currently in 8th place, 25 seconds back. So he's actually closed in on our leading drivers in the last few laps. He's chasing Florian Schultz. They were 4 tenths apart. They go across the start-finish line. They're still right behind each other. This is going to make things a lot easier for Leckner Racing now, because strategically they would have been worried of being stuck in traffic for the whole of the first stint. But right now he's got clear air ahead of him beyond the Schultz Mercedes, and the Ferraris just let the top 2 cars through. So that is now a lap down in 23rd place, I think that is. Number 50.
51, that was the
51.
second AF Corsa car. That was the...
So 26th place then.
That was the car that was actually shipped in to Spain overnight from Italy, so they were late getting out into qualifying this morning. It was effectively a test session, and this is really the first time that car... Wow, Jan Siefer getting very close to Stefano Bozzoni there. Says, move over, here I come.
Yeah, that's similar to what occurred with Yuki Namoto's move, because he had to open up the steering once the driver coming on the inside was committed. But if you keep it open, you won't make the corner. So you still have to, turn in. At which point, and we see how Faisal Zubair the side of Florian Schultz can't get through. He almost ended up in the gravel for a second time this race there. Remains in 8th place, and now we've got a real queue of cars. So that is Schultz, Laimi Irib, Dinner, now Faisal Al-Zubair, who's dropped down to 10th.
He's going to lose the places that he's made up. Michael Dynan in the Aston Martin is on the inside, gets the run. It's all going wrong for Andy Suchek.
Nick
Faisal
Moss,
Al-Zubair. That's a good recovery from Nick.
Yeah, he was facing backwards a few laps ago, and now he's already behind. This Porsche is really causing quite a...
Oh, Bozzoni.
And
Schultz moves on. He tries to do the right thing, but the speed differential, this is good old-fashioned touring car racing style. Class within a class, although as Bozzoni spins on the final corner, I'm sure the leaders who have just gone by, the 44 Porsche, who has spun at turn 16, they've probably got a different opinion. Fortunately, they've escaped without damage. Nick Moss down the inside in the McLaren of Faisal Al-Zubair. For the moment, it is just a local yellow flag. Stefano Bozzoni trying to get it going off screen. Hopefully the safety car does not come out.
What he's done is, because the rear wheels were on track, so he could have got traction, but he's now driven it into the gravel trap and just got beached about 10 meters into the gravel, which is possibly the worst recovery job I've ever seen, when he could have just reversed it slightly. But of course, it's a blind corner at the end there, so it should have been double yellows from the off.
He was trying to do the right thing, but when he had these 5 GT3 supercars all over the back of him, as Michael Dynan runs wide and Faisal Al-Zubair, for the moment we still stay green, and he goes by the green car just as the safety car is deployed out onto the circuit. Faisal Al-Zubair just made the place on Michael Dynan. That puts him into P9. Stefano Bozzoni with the left rear spinning. Parked in the gravel, going nowhere, and once again we get a chance to look at the Godzilla GTR Nissan safety car. This is the reason why is about to come out onto the circuit. He was trying to get out of the way. He was in the marbles, having his own race. Stefano Bozzoni in the 44 Carmel car goes around at turn 16, tried to get off a very precarious position, parked on the racing line. That could have been a monumental crash. So we'll try and give him some credit. He was trying to do the right thing. This is what he was trying to avoid. These drivers inside the top 10 trying to go by. There's Florian Schultz just ahead. So the safety car is now out. Onto the circuit, Jim Pla can take a breath, so to speak, for a moment. Frederick Schandorf, Martin Kodrich, 1, 2, 3.
Now, the Porsche is obviously out of this race now. Bit of a silly incident, to be honest. But the battle up front, Faisal Al-Zubair, although he's lost several places, he's now only going to be 5 or 6 seconds behind the cars he wants to be ahead of, with our top 10 really going to be closed up. There was 37 seconds between Jim Pla and Faisal Al-Zubair at the end of the previous lap. At the moment, I don't think it's going to be greater than 5, potentially, because that is a very slow-moving safety car. With the Porsche, as we saw in the picture, it was on track. It stopped on track, and it just drove forward into the gravel trap. The gravel there, unlike maybe the gravel at the top of the circuit, where you do have that escape road beyond the gravel to make sure drivers can go through and then join the track, this gravel is there to stop the car. They don't want you going into the wall, they want the car to be stopped. And what he essentially did was drive into, you know, something that is going to stop the car entirely. So no wonder he is out this race. And it's a shame because he was obviously fighting for GT Cup Open honours, and we've lost one of those cars from contention. But with all of those who hadn't been lapped now going to the back of the field, traffic shouldn't be an issue for the next 20 or so laps.
You got a glimpse a few moments ago of Karel Bash, who will take over the 777 Olymp Racing Mercedes. Marcin Jedlinski behind the wheel at the moment in position 15, just behind Jens Renault Moller. There is the safety car letting the back markers go through, trying to catch up the race leader Jim Pla, Frederick Schandorf. There is Jedlinski going through. And there is the race leader down through turn 1. So the safety car needs to wait at least a good half lap at the moment to catch up the leaders. Stefano Bozzoni trying to be deployed. He may be able to restart the race. Will lose a couple of laps. There is no damage to the car. It looked as though Stefano was stepping out of the car a few moments ago. But he may be able to rejoin the race. Of course, we've got the Cup Car Class Honours. The GT Cup Championship the race is being led by Jan Lauritsen. We'll take a quick moment to update you with the points of the Cup Championship. Maciej Blaszek and Maciej Liszalski. The 2 poles lead the championship on 69 points. Maciej Demeko, Artur Janos, they are in third in the championship, third and fourth on 51 points down in the McLaren garage at the moment. Just on the McLarens, Brendan Irebe in position 8 in car 7, and a good recovery from Nick Moss after going around in the opening stages of the race. He's back into 11th place in the second of the Optimum Motorsport McLarens. There is Stefano, so he's back in the race, which is good to see, although the leaders are probably thinking, oh no, not again. With all due respect, not for us to criticise, he's doing a better job than weekend. Stones flying off the car. He's back in the race. He'll lose the best part of 3 laps. No damage to the car, but we still have got 29 drivers in the race from the original 29 starters. There is the safety car, still trying to pick up the race leader.
So where the Porsches are now, this is where the JCB was, dragging our other Porsche back onto the track. And as they came through the final corner behind the safety car, they weren't expecting it to be there, and they all had to jink right. Race control gave us the message. I'm not sure it entirely got to all of the drivers in time, because one of the Olymp cars really had to swerve out the way at the final second to make sure they didn't impact the JCB. So slightly concerning recovery job there. We've also had another Porsche exit the race as well. So we've got 2 cars out now, Bozzoni and Antaszewski. And although 3 laps down, so Bozzoni is back in the race. But the recovery crews have already been fairly busy this morning.
Brendan Irebe, Ollie Milroy sharing the first of the McLarens. And Nick Moss will hand over car 72 to Joe Osborne when the pit stop window opens, which is not too far away. The safety car is preparing to pull into pit lane. So once again, we'll be back down to just one sole Japanese car in the race. So there is the race leader, Jim Pla, behind the GTR safety car. Let's hope. I know we make reference to it quite a few times, but it is, sure, it's an international championship dominated by European cars, but it is great when we have the variety, especially from the likes of Nissan, in years gone by, the Lexus, and also the Honda. We had 3 Hondas at Monza, just the sole entrant here this weekend. Let's hope we see the Nissan back on the grid in the near future. There's some new GT3 supercars coming our way in the future. There is even talk, Dallara, who supply our sister series category, the Euro Formula Open F3 cars. They have actually built a GT3 spec, in theory, Stradale supercar. Could we see even possibly a Dallara on the grid in GTOpen International? That would be fantastic to see. Let's hope for the moment we get more Nissans and Hondas back on the grid in the near future as the safety car pulls into pit lane at the end of this lap.
We've still got several kind of packs of cars running at not near race speeds, but fairly fast to try and catch up to the queue. We've got our top 10 cars close together, but...
That's Jan Laurisson, car 54, who is leading at the Cup category. Car 54, 17th outright is Jan. For the Q1 by EMG Motorsport team, the Belgian driver from the Bell Car Series, as the safety car pulls into pit lane. Look at Schandorf all over the back of Jim Pla. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're pulled away from the rest of the pack. And Jim Pla under pressure once again. The green flag flies, and for the second time this afternoon, we race green. The green machines in 2 and 4. The Mercedes in 1 and 3. Jim Pla under pressure from Schandorf. Kodrich, who has to pull to his right, to your left, as Yuki Nomoto, the Japanese driver, with one almighty send down the outside, almost took the Croatian, trying to go up into 3rd place and catch the 2Cs Motorsport driver napping off the restart. Martin Kodrich was having none of it. Good restart by Jim Pla, the former single-seater international driver. Single-seater ace, a potential career in Formula One. He had to wave goodbye to the best part of a decade ago, despite racing with and beating half of the drivers on the current Formula One grid at the moment. He took pole position this morning, and he leads the race this afternoon. Florian Scholz further back in the pack. It's messy at the restart. There's Michael Diamond around the outside lap traffic. is involved in this. There's Jedlinski at the back of the pack. Look at this, they're 5 wide into Repsol turn 4. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair has to hand the car over in the best possible position to Andy Soucek if he's got any hope of taking the championship. Michael Dynan right behind the Omani.
Yeah, so Al-Faisal Al-Zubair has now got through this pack of cars. Florian Scholz just went off entirely at the first 2 corners and went back. And at the back of that queue is the number 5 Olin Paudi of Jedlinski. Basically, they were closing in on the lead pack just for the restart, but then Jedlinski slowed down, and all of these cars lost about 10 seconds to lead backs. Al-Zubair has got to make up all that time he thought he had made up under the safety car. He's got to do it all over again. There's now a half-minute gap between himself and the lead 5. So our leaders are going across the line at the moment, 8 tenths of a second between Pla and Schandorf. Actually, the biggest the advantage has been all race, I think, because it's roughly been around 4 tenths of a second. Kodric another second back, Yuki Namoto in 4th, and now the driver change window is open. So Al-Faisal Al-Zubair will be the most interesting car to watch here, because strategy could potentially decide if the title is decided today.
We've already raced 1/2 hour. You look at Jan Lauritsen, he's doing the race solo in car 54, and he's leading the Cup class category just from Dino Zamparelli. The English driver as Al-Faisal Al-Zubair pulls down into pit lane, so that answers our question very, very quickly. Andy Soucek in his 2nd home race of the year, the half Austrian, the half Spanish driver. That's Andy. Al-Faisal Al-Zubair jumps out and hands over to Andy Soucek, 2nd in the series. Must drive the wheels off the 77 Lechner Racing Porsche if he's got any hope of taking the championship for 2021. Marcin Jedlinski pulls down into pit lane. Carol Bash, the 2015 World Kart Racing champion, dives into the first of the Olymp Racing cars. This is 51. Jay Strideman handing over to Oswaldo Negri, the 2 American drivers, as Jan Lauritsen has now just been passed by Zamparelli. That is for the lead of the GT Cup category. Zamparelli was briefly ahead of the Belgian driver. Jan Lauritsen says, no, you don't. He's doing the race solo. That's Brendan Irebe down into the pits. He hands over car 7 to Ollie Milroy. So the American to the Brit. Ollie Milroy behind the wheel of car 7 now, exits pit lane. Florian Scholz has handed over the Antonelli Motorsport car. That is Laurie Spinelli to the left of your screen. Car 47 for Antonelli Motorsport. Ollie Milroy looking aggressive on the exit of pit lane as that championship leader, Frederick Schandorf, dives down into the pits to hand over to Michele Beretta. There is the Cup class leader, Jan Lauritsen. It is all happening here this afternoon. The pit stop window is open. Race 1 of 2, the final round of the 2021 International GTOpen Championship.
Yes, I think Andy Soucek is out of the pits, but there's a Porsche right in front of the Lamborghini where they've had a rear left tyre change go wrong, and they've cost about half a minute there. They're still sitting in the pits, and now the bonnet's open as well. So real issues for that car. But the second VSR Lambo is right in front of the Al-Faisal Al-Zubair Porsche. Here's a replay of our GT Cup Open Europe leaders changing position. So he takes the inside line down the pit straight, does Dino Zamparelli, going past Jan Lauritsen. Very, very long straights for these GT4 cars. Gets the move done, we presume, into turn 1. There's the Balf Motorsport Audi, similarly having a very slow stop there. The VSR Lambo is out, but the second of the Porsches is still in there, as is the Balf Motorsport Audi. So not everyone's having a good time in pit lane, but of our leading contenders, Pla, Kodric and Namoto, they're already a lap ahead of the cars they're contending with who have pitted. So that's going to be beneficial for them. At the same time, Al-Zubair has come out, well, Soucek has come out at the front of that queue, so he's still going to have a bit of an advantage here with some clean air.
Jim Pla stays out. That Lamborghini is going very slowly. Now accelerates. Jan Seifert handing over to Gerhard Twereza. In fact, that was Beretta going slowly. Apologies. It looked like the 17 Green Tiger. That was actually the championship leader. He was just coasting at the end of pit lane. Let's hope, let's pray for the Italian's sake that he's not out of the race with some sort of mechanical gremlin. He was just coasting out of pit lane, although Andy Soucek is probably not saying that prayer as we speak. Andy Soucek needs to drive as hard as he's ever driven. As you look at Jim Pla, who stays out, still leads the race, the pole sitter. The 17 green Tiger of Jan Seifert, he is now coming down into pit lane. So we've got Mercedes running 1-2. Jim Pla in the lead from Martin Kodrich, Jan Larison, that is Dino Zamparelli behind him. The son of Mike Zamparelli, former Formula One World Championship speedboat racer. Speed in his veins, there's the cliche. I have to think of a better one than that. A super racing driver, and great to have Dino back in the series. Gerhard Torreser, Jan Seifert in the HP Racing International car. Jan Larison still with the lead of the Cup class. There is Zamparelli just behind. He'll hand over to Jim Klingelberg, the Swiss driver. Still Pla stays out.
So I think Michele Barretto has taken over from Schandorf, lost 13 seconds in that first sector of the lap.
He was going very slow at the exit of pit lane.
But the split times since have been rough. Well, he's lost another 4 seconds in sector 2, but you know, warming the car up, it is the outlap. The tyres aren't going to be up to temperature. Going back to the battle with Foley and Suchek and all of these cars who did have other drivers in 2 laps ago, fighting for the same positions. Car 47 is now under investigation. That's Loris Spinelli, unsafe rejoin at turn 2. So that was the lap before they went to the pits. Here's the number 5 Olymp Racing Audi. So this was the car that's put out Faisal Al-Zubair back, and that is the Lamborghini that's just pitted. So Jan Seifert was way ahead of this queue car. It's all change at the moment. Marcio Morio pitting. He was high up the order, I think it's 8th overall at that point. Al-Zubair goes down the end, no, Andy Suchek goes down the inside. That is for I think 10th place at the moment with the pit stop cycling round. That should be for 6th, and he's going to lose another spot. Is the Aston Martin to one of the McLarens, potentially to a VSR Lambo behind him as well. It's not going well for the 72 McLaren at the moment.
Robbie Foley is now behind the wheel of the Aston Martin as you look at the race leader come down into pit lane. Sorry, that's a sister car. That is the 93 Mercedes, apology. They were actually doing really well. Up into 5th place, Daniel Diaz Varela. Getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, getting a little bit anxious, waiting for the race leader, Jim Pla. So we do apologise for confusing the Mercedes cars. This is Robbie Foley in the Aston. Andy Suchek up the inside, takes the place and recovers one of the Cup cars down into pit lane. August Macbeth and Albert Estraguez, the Spanish driver, the local driver, who has, for the moment, given up on racing the somewhat troublesome Trans Am Mustang, which did add variety to the grid.
So Michele Barretto, who's in the VSR Lambo that was previously leading, has lost another 2 seconds at the end of the previous lap. You can see him being chased now by Jim Pla, who is yet to pit. Obviously, the Lamborghini has pitted, so potentially just took a while to get the tyres up to temperature, but there is an obligation to let that car through. Blue flags will be waved because you're going to be lapped. So he's got to make sure he doesn't encounter traffic. That's the number 47.
It's Loris Spinelli.
Yeah, AKM Motorsport. So the Mercedes are in prime position right now, both in the AM class, the Pro class, and the Pro-Am class, potentially for victories in all 3.
Outright, it is still Jim Pla. That is the race leader, and that is 2nd place, Martin Kodrich. He's won for the last 2 years in a row at Monza, and he's looking to win the championship final as well. The Bahraini English team, the Mercedes, run 1-2 as Jim Pla goes a little bit wide. There's Loris Spinelli in the background. So the German supercars on your screen, 1, 2, 3, not in that order though. It is still Yuki Nomoto for the moment, who is in 3rd place. Jan Lorison, incidentally, who is leading the Cup class. There he is, the Belgian, dives down into pit lane. Can't really take the Cup championship. Has had a great run, a couple of Cup class victories in 2021. Joining us when commitments allowed after racing in the Belgian Belcar Series. He's doing the race solo, so he doesn't get out. This is Martin Kodrich down into pit lane from 2nd place, about to hand over to the Canadian Ethan Simeoni. Let's watch the 2Cs Motorsport team go to work. Martin jumps out and Ethan jumps in. Looks good so far. The new set of Michelin's going on as Ethan is strapped into the car. We'll see where he rejoins. Jim Pla still leads the race as a penalty comes out to the 72 McLaren.
That is Joe Osborne. So that was for the collision with the other McLaren, I believe.
With the 47 Antonelli car, of course.
Who is also under investigation. So,
and that was the reason why. That gives us the answer.
Well, he obviously rejoined at turn 2 as well, which is track limits, etc. Now, the Michele Beretta car, currently in 6th place, is a lap down, has a 3-second net advantage over Spinelli, and another 3 seconds beyond that to Souček. Now, that was 30 seconds during the safety car, just before the pit stops, I think. So, no safety car has wiped out his advantage. This is purely from that outlap that they have lost that time, which could mean that when Jim Pla pits, he's going to come out with, you know, a 20-second advantage up front. So Yuki Nemoto here, who has already dropped 10 seconds to Jim Pla, may be a strategic key for VSR in what they plan to do through the rest of this race.
Of course, that is the question. When Jim Pla pits, and it's right now, dives into pit lane, and finally the race leader, quick on the entry, hard on the brakes, about to hand over to his countryman, Thomas Drouet. We'll watch this.
Dino Zamparelli has pitted as well from the GTOpen Europe class lead as well. So we're going to see him potentially cycle out in front or behind Jan Norrison, who's actually still in pit lane, I think. So potentially a long stop for Jan Norrison, who was up to 5th place. We're going to see the driver change in the 87. Thomas Drouet gets in. Acker ASP is making a bit of an annual tradition here now. Obviously, they have success in other GT series, which is well known. But at the end of the year, they often turn up to GTOpen, particularly when we're racing at Barcelona, come with 1 or 2 cars. Not normally, you know, their regular lineup. They'll bring a different selection of drivers and have a good time, essentially, end the year on a high, and particularly a high when they're in contention for victory.
Jim Klingelberg is about to take over from Dino Zamparelli. Hugo Delacour to get into the 52 AF Corsa Ferrari from Cedric Spirituoli.
Florian Schultz has just been given a reprimand for his unsafe rejoin at turn 2. So that was when he lost the positions from 6th down to 10th, and now Faisal Al-Zubair got through there as well. We're following the number 63 Lamborghini Michele Beretta. Is it going slowly? It's hard to tell. There's no other cars around it really to judge the pace by. Looking at the split times, they don't look too irregular. 41.1, and obviously the teammate Yuki Nemoto is a 41.5, so actually went faster than Yuki Nemoto last time by. But that is our 87 car already out the pits.
In 2nd place, can they win the race?
And the Lamborghini is just coming out the final corner right now, so that is a 20-second advantage.
On debuting the 2021 championship. And I think it's Jim Pla's first run in the GTOpen International Series. Looking good for a debut victory as Yuki Nemoto comes down into pit lane from the race lead in a 2nd Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini. So Thomas Drouet on your screen. This is Yuki Nemoto, who is about to hand over to the Belgian Baptiste Moulin. Hugely experienced Vincenzo Sospiri Racing team. Go to work. New set of Michelin tyres to go on for the remaining half hour. Once the pit stop cycle has settled down, we will get back to the championship, the virtual championship, and try and see where things stand. Michele Beretta at the moment is P5, and Andy Souček is down the order. So the championship may be won in half an hour's time as we look at Ethan Simeone. He's in 2nd place. Accelerates, uses every piece of the racetrack, and then some, comes out of turn 16 onto the straight in 2nd place.
A bit of tyre smoke as the Lamborghini exits its pit box, so it's definitely into 2nd place. Is it potentially going to drop down to 3rd as well?
There's Carol Bash in the background. On the back of Ollie Milroy, Gerhard Theresa just ahead. Bash still on the inside, in fact, of Hugo Delacour, and that is the end of the pit stop window. So a couple of teams, Yuki Nemoto, Baptiste Moulin cutting it right to the very edge of the window. Baptiste Moulin takes over. Ethan Simeone has assumed the lead of the race. There is Adam Carroll behind the wheel of the Balf Motorsport. Audi, and just ahead of him is Robbie Foley in the 97. Aston Martin, Carol Bash has immediately gone by and taken Hugo Delacour. That's for 12th place. Ollie Milroy next in line for the pole.
Jan Lauritsen did lose the GT Cup Open Europe lead. He's actually dropped down to third in class, but he's significantly quicker than the two cars that are now ahead of him. So potentially we're going to see him close back in on that lead, which he lost with a very, very long pit stop. I think it was north of 2 minutes because he was really in there for a long time. We've now got a correction from race control. Car 47, driver 1 reprimand, second driving. So that's actually Spinelli rather than Florian Schultz in the AKM Mercedes, I believe that is. Getting reprimanded there. At the front of the field, 10-second gap between Simeone and Jouet. But the more important one is down to Beretta, which is another 26 seconds. So that's actually the second place of the Vincenzo Sospiri Lambos now. Obviously, with the pit stop success handicap, you're going to have another 10 seconds beyond that. So he's lost around 10 seconds minimum purely for that outlet. Hopefully, we're going to get an answer from the team on why that occurred, because it's changed the picture of this race. Suchuk now is only 3 seconds behind Beretta.
Robbie Foley, the 25-year-old American from New Jersey, USA, has got Adam Carroll, the much more experienced Adam Carroll, right behind in the Balf Motorsport 22 car. Robbie Foley coming over racing in the IMSA series in the past few years. A lot of success racing in GT4, but it is another big step up to race GT3, but he's holding his own inside the top 10 in P8 at the moment. This is car 24 going through. Maciej Blacek and Maciej Liszowski in contention, of course, for the GT Cup Championship. They do lead the championship on 69 points. They can also win the GT Cup Championship here this afternoon. As we say, the drivers from Poland in Eastern Europe, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the series. Blacek and Liszowski, car 24. Actually leading the race here this afternoon. They are 18th outright. As we take a look at another couple of the GT4 cars, the 215 car going very wide. Alba Estraguez running off the circuit, but just rejoining. So this is the championship leader of the Cup class and also the race leader here this afternoon, Maciej Liszowski from Poland. Had a good run at Monza a few weeks ago. They won at the Hungaroring. They won the very first round of the series, race 1, back at Paul Ricard, the former home of the French Formula 1 Grand Prix, provisionally for the moment. That was in the south of France to start 2021. Liszowski in car 24, Jan Lauritsen and Jan Klingelnberg. Not the easiest name to pronounce.
Liszowski, unless there's a car with an identical livery, which there may well be, I'm pretty sure it's Liszowski who was the one who was in the pits for like 3 minutes, had the bonnet up, the rear left wheel wouldn't go on properly. They spent a long time in the pits, but he's actually leading the GT Cup Open Europe class, rather confusingly. So potentially there's another of those Porsches that looks identical, but has a different number, because I could only see the rear of the car from our commentary box position while in pit lane. In fact, all of the pit stops have been determined to be okay. Thomas Jouet set the fastest lap previous time by, has actually gone a tenth slower than Ethan Simeone this time round though. 23 minutes, 10.6 seconds between our top two. That gap could close down. We're going to follow the GT Cup Open Europe battle though, because that's less than a second at the moment. Looking at turn 10, thinks better of it.
Dirk Schouten down the inside of Jan Klingelnberg, and then right behind them, the battle for the final step of the podium in the Cup category is the outright race leader, Ethan Simeone. In car 9, can they take another famous victory in the GTOpen International Championship in 2021? So Ethan Simeone, the Canadian, is in the race lead, 10 seconds ahead of Thomas Drouet. The pole sitter, or the car that started on pole position, Baptiste Moulin, is in P3. Beretta, the championship leader, in P4. As Jan Klingelnberg makes way, there is Schouten just ahead. There's Dirk in car 53. The Q1 by EMG Motorsport car, sharing the car with Nicolas van Dierendonck, the Belgian-Dutch combination. They're in 20th position outright. So Liszowski does still lead the Cup category. As we ride on board with Andy Soucek, still trying to keep his championship alive. He's in P6, it won't be enough though. It looks as though Beretta, who is in position 4, if he can hold on for another 22 minutes, 22 seconds, he will win the GTOpen International Championship for 2021. Andy Soucek driving as hard as he possibly can. Joe Osborne behind. And just ahead, Laurie Spinelli. That is Beretta. That is the championship leaders. 4 and 6, 1 and 3 on your screen. 4 and 6 in the race. With Spinelli for Antonelli Motorsport. The Kaspersky 47 car in between them. Spinelli's sideways on the exit of turn 4. Michele Beretta in position 4. There is something of a question mark hanging over the 63 Lamborghini, which was very slow out of pit lane. It looks to be okay for the moment though. He's in 4th. That would be enough. Provisionally, we put a big asterisk after this sentence. Enough to win the championship for this season. Andy Soucek driving the wheels off the 77 Porsche.
Yeah, so if Soucek won this race, the minimum the Lamborghini would have to do to win the title in this race is finish 4th. Because he's ahead of the Porsche, he's already won the title. That's how much of the points advantage he currently holds. The car in between, Laura Spinelli, not quite sure if he's still in title contention on the Pro-Am side, but he's holding on to the Pro-Am class lead in the race right now. And closing in on this trio of cars is Joe Osborne, and Andy Soucek had a little look down the inside of turn 10 there on Laurie Spinelli. Didn't quite have enough of a space to really put the car down the inside, but he might do here at the top of the hill. He's going to try and close the door on the Porsche behind. Is he going to duck back out and try and go down the inside of the chicane? Covers off the angle. Comes out final 2, he's going to dive down the inside again. Almost a little bit of contact. I think he just went bumper to bumper there. That's actually cost him ground. He's dropped behind. Has he wasted his opportunity to essentially clear the Mercedes and go chasing the Lambo?
Absolute violence on board the Porsche with Andy Soucek, who is giving it absolutely everything. Spinelli in between. And a good job from Joe Osborne, who sits behind in the 72 McLaren. So we've got the Lamborghini from the Mercedes, the Porsche, and then the McLaren. Have a look at this. Down the inside, makes very light contact with the back of the 47 car. Spinelli just holds him off for the moment. Andy Soucek, an aggressive and ambitious move, just the slightest kiss. Hard on the brakes, had everything locked up. Spinelli did not flinch and holds off the Spanish-Austrian driver who's second in the championship, who will concede the championship, you would think, in 20 minutes' time, because Michele Beretta, if he brings it home in position 4th, he will claim the 2021 championship. There is confirmation at the bottom right of your screen. Schandorf and Beretta would win the championship. Soucek in 2nd place would mathematically be out of the title. Moulin de Moto and Faisal Al-Zubair in 4th, or in reality the 6th driver in the championship. Very, very close, coming down to this, the 7th and final round of 2021. 4 different manufacturers on your screen. Beretta in the Lamborghini, Spinelli in the Mercedes, the Porsche of Andy Soucek, and the McLaren, the British supercar of Joe Osborne. Nothing in between these 4 supercars here in race 1, the 7th round of the 2021 championship. Beretta getting so close to the championship, can almost put one hand on the trophy. Spinelli was very late under brakes then, so they come out of turn 16 and accelerate to start the 28th lap of the race.
Provisionally, this will lock in Soucek and 2nd in the standings as well, which will mean it will just be a battle for 3rd on Sunday between the 2nd VSR Lambo and Faisal Al-Zubair for 3rd place. We've got our top 4 cars, a little bit of wheel smoke, potentially.
That's what we saw earlier on.
No, it's much darker, so more likely to be brake smoke this time. There was very white smoke previously, which would have been just rubber burning. So we've got 4 cars covered by just over a second here. Brilliant battle. Often is the case in the second half of GTOpen races at the end of the season at Barcelona, is it anticipates, it builds up, and then someone makes a massively overambitious move in the final 2 laps. And it's all we talk about for the next 4 months until the season starts again. So great to see these 4, 2 of them are the title contenders, going at it. And I mean, what's to rule out that once this Mercedes is cleared, or if he's cleared by Andy Soucek, that he doesn't get a bit bit of rubbing with the Lamborghini later on.
It may be contact. I'm trying to see Marco Antonelli, the team owner, out our commentary position window. If I've got 2 seconds, I'll quickly send him a text message and say, Marco, what's going on with your car? Because there is definite smoke coming from the 47 car. Still quick enough, he's still in P5, Loris Spinelli, who won earlier on in the season. Andy Soucek giving it absolutely everything. But the Mercedes in front of him. And then the championship leader, Michele Beretta. The Mercedes is really good down the inside into the chicane. Beretta goes in deep up the inside of turn 16. Can he take him? They're wheel to wheel, side by side. Nicely done. Loris Spinelli takes the place. He's home for Andy Soucek.
Soucek's going to pass both.
Wide, they're 3 wide. They're almost going to be 4 wide down the straight. Spinelli wheel to wheel with Andy Soucek. There is Osborne in the McLaren. They're 3 wide. They're 4 wide down into turn 1. Spectacular racing. Osborne takes all 3 of them. What a move by the Brit and the McLaren. Andy Soucek is now on the inside of Loris Spinelli. There is the championship leader, Michele Beretta, who is playing it safe. He says, go and play, boys. I'm just looking at the championship. He's backed out of the throttle. Soucek makes contact with Spinelli. This is spectacular in the GTOpen International Championship. Soucek, with nothing to lose, now has got Beretta, the championship leader, right behind him. Osborne's gone through, then Spinelli, and Soucek is throwing all his cards on the table. And Beretta says, go for it, boys. I don't need to win the race to win the 2021 title.
And of course, Joe Osborne passing 3 cars in the, a straight line there, was that he's moved into the Pro-Am class lead. Because Spinelli was leading that class, now Osborne is ahead. So he's on course for Pro-Am class victory. And hopefully we're going to replay the whole action take place again.
That was a fantastic move from Joe Osborne, who now moves up into 4th position, leads the Pro-Am category, and he's actually pulled away from Loris Spinelli. Brilliant driving from Joe to go P4 in the 72 McLaren.
Yeah, Beretta left the door open into the final corner, which allowed Mercedes to stay on the inside, and then once he was through, he actually forced the Lamborghini onto the green kind of painted surface, and we're going to see it here outside of the curbing, and that meant he lost momentum, which meant the Porsche got through, but then the triple slipstream allowed the McLaren to zoom past all 3. So brilliant job there by the McLaren. You can actually see one of the cars up ahead, but looking further back, I think Robbie Foley is only 7 seconds behind now. He was initially closing in, so potentially at the end of this race we are going to have convergence. Here's a replay. So Spinelli jumps over the curbs, gets down the inside, rubs all over the inside curbs at the final corner, and you see the Lamborghini really has to check up on the steering to actually make the corner once he is essentially off the track. You can see it here. Then the Porsche is going to be his right-hand side. Darts between the two of them, a bit like Eduardo Mortara at the Diriyah E3 at the start of this year. Here's how Faisal Zubair, Andy Soucek on board with him, goes right, then darts left, and then Joe Osborne, which we didn't get to see on board of, went past all 3.
That was just absolutely brilliant racing in race 1, the 7th round of the GTOpen International Championship. No surprise to see the stewards were watching that very closely and have nearly issued a warning flag to Loris Spinelli.
But he's already had a reprimand, though. He's already had a reprimand for driving standards.
Surely.
So, well, if he does something else again, potentially there'll be a penalty on the books. But he's lost the Pro-Am class lead, so that's what he was really fighting for. And any penalty now could impact it. There's 7 seconds to Robbie Foley, and then beyond that is Adam Carroll, who's the next Pro-Am car in the Balf Motorsport Audi. The Porsche is looking at the rear and the Mercedes again. So this lovely 4-car battle is kind of broken up now, although Joe Osborne's trying to clear the GT Cup Open Europe cars, goes down the inside at 2 at once. At the final corner, he's in 4th place. Got a little bit of an advantage now to Spinelli. Andy Soucek behind him in 6th. Michele Beretta already drops 1.8 seconds down in 7th.
Albert Estreguez in the GT4 Mercedes has just been passed by Spinelli in the GT3 Mercedes. Andy Soucek takes advantage, goes by Jan Lauritsen and Estreguez as well, who is back with us for the final round, as we say, after unfortunately parking the Mustang Trans Am car. And he is on board the 215 NM Racing team. Mercedes sharing the car with the Swiss driver August Macbeth. Loris Spinelli just trying to limp it to the checkered flag. Speaking of which, Michele Beretta has dropped back to 7th place. He's certainly lost speed. He's just gone past Jan Lauritsen in the background. Ethan Simeoni, meanwhile, will get back to the leaders in just a few moments. This battle still rages on with Spinelli and Soucek in 5 and 6. There's Beretta. Will finish way off the podium, but should just take enough points. There's Yuki Nomoto, Frederick Schandorf down in pit lane. You're going to do it, Frederick, you would think. The 2019 Pro-Am champion, the Great Dane, to win the 2021 championship. Nervously watching on from the garage here at Barcelona. His teammate on your screen, Michele Beretta, the 63. Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini. A superstar team in GT racing over the past, well, decade or so. The team bearing the name of the founder, Vincenzo Sospiri, who had one of the shortest Formula One careers ever, basically a few practice sessions at Melbourne in 1990 something in the
MasterCard Lola.
Indeed.
Classic.
Has made a great career running one of the finest teams in GT racing anywhere in the world, and looking at taking the championship as you look at Andy Soucek, Messi coming onto the straight. This is on board with Maciej Darmetko and Artur Janos in the GT Cup class car. Down into turn 1. Right behind Albert Estreguez, and the Spaniard holds him off, and there is Robbie Foley. That's a menacing sight if ever there was one. It's not James Bond in Jan Lauritsen's mirrors, it is the American Robbie Foley in the race-winning 97 TF Sport Aston Martin. Goes up the inside, takes the place by the pole. And also Oswaldo Negri follows him through in the 51. In fact, that's not. That looks to be one of the Audis as well.
That's a Balf Motorsport car, because he's fighting for a Pro-Am Class Honours. He's going to try and dive down the inside of the Mercedes, which should have really led him through with different classes here. But Adam Carroll is chasing Foley for 8th place. Both of them do have a little bit of a sniff at 7th, because, you know, Beretta is dropping time. He was another 3 seconds slower than Andy Soucek on that last lap. So, you know, really dialing it back down is that Lamborghini, although I've just seen him clear one of the GT Cup Open Europe cars, so clearly still turned on to some aspects. I think they're just, you know, bring the car to the finish now. There's only 10 minutes left. You're going to win the title as the Mercedes tries to dart down the inside and spins Jansi for a round. That's a number 17.
Runs into the back of Gerhard Tuareza, who immediately grabs a gear. That was an ambitious move by Carroll, who was desperately trying to make up place as he was in position 12. He's gone through. He's made the plays, but we expect there'll be more to come. We'll get a replay of that for you in just a moment. It was a textbook move that did not pay off. Jan Lauritsen over the back of Albert Estreguez. Meanwhile, in the Cup class category, Gerhard Tuareza was in position 11. Carroll has assumed the spot, and this is the reason why. Down into turn 10, Bash with a send. The front right makes contact with the left rear of the 17 Green Tiger. Oh, wow. Keeps it out of the gravel. The pole goes through on the Austrian for the moment. Maciej Darmetko had a good view of that. In fact, it was after Janos. Does the 26 car.
Does he get the move done here? No, he doesn't. Has to back out. Great little battle we do have there between our GT Cup Open Europe cars. We're finally back onto our leaders. Haven't seen them in about 10 minutes. Simeoni 9.9 seconds ahead of Thomas Drouet now, so that gap was 10 seconds at the pit stop, so it extended to 11.2 at one point, but it's remained fairly constant for what's set to be a Mercedes 1-2 here at Barcelona.
It certainly looks that way. Ethan Simeoni, Thomas Drouet, run 1-2, just finishing up on that point. Obviously, before we even showed you that replay, we got word from race control that incident between Tuareza and Carol Bash is under investigation. Thomas Drouet behind the wheel of the 87 ACA Mercedes. So the German mark here in Spain, run 1-2. And Baptiste Moulin for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. At the moment, he's on the podium. Joe Osborne, that's a fantastic recovery. Remember, the opening stages of the race, the 72 McLaren was around facing the wrong way. He's now 4th outright and leading the Pro-Am category from Loris Spinelli.
Yeah, incredible job, because Spinelli when Florian Schultz was in the car, had a gap of around 10 seconds at one point. So really brought that back. And that, to be fair, when the spin actually occurred, it was a brilliant recovery straight away. He got it turned around, got it back onto track without causing any havoc for anyone else, and was back on the pace straight away. We're now looking at Baptiste Moulin in third place, 34 seconds down on Ethan Simeoni, losing around 2 seconds per lap, but still quicker than Michele Barretto, who's in the second VSR Lambo, currently in 7th place, who has actually maintained that 7-second gap to Robbie Foley throughout all of this, despite dropping pace. So, they're really, I think they're just lapping at a comfortable pace now. So we look at Tadej Lazowski, who is our leading GT Cup Open Europe car. I'm fairly sure he spent longer than anyone else in the pits, but, he's in the lead.
Christian Korsanowski behind, doing a good job in car 5, the second Olympic racing entry car, 19th outright in the AM category. Young Christian Korsanowski, just in his early 20s, a couple of seasons in various one-make racing categories in the east of Europe, mainly. Jan Lauritsen on your screen in car 54. Super experienced is Jan, as we say, racing in the Bell Car Series, a couple of starts in the Zolder 24-hour race. The Q1 by EMG Motorsport Porsche down through the chicane. Jan Lauritsen, second in the Cup category. 20th outright ahead of Dirk Schouten, and Bas Schouten behind. Up the inside, makes contact with Albert Estraguez. Wow, loses the front right. The 26 Porsche, that was a big crash, and it was the championship leader in the Cup class category. The safety car out onto the circuit with 6 minutes remaining in the session. Dramatic scenes here in the dying stages of race 1. Take a look at this. Janos down the inside, tries to make the move on Albert Estraguez. Gets airborne, loses the front right, massive damage to the 26 Porsche, which was leading. Wow! A monster crash. Fortunately, it was at relatively low speed. Artur Janos. Yuki Nomoto applauds that because it gives them breathing space in a sporting sense. Fortunately, he is okay. Missing the front right, Albert Estraguez is out of the race, as is Artur Janos. Trying to make the place down into turn 7. There is the safety car deployed once again here in the penultimate race of the season. Picks up Ethan Simeoni. There he goes. So the Canadian looking as though he will take the victory here this afternoon with 4 minutes 44 left on the clock. The 8-second lead has just eroded now to Thomas Drouet. Baptiste Moulin in third place. He was 40 seconds behind. That's in fact why Yuki Nomoto was applauding down in pit lane, because that 40-second gap between Thomas Drouet and Baptiste Moulin will now evaporate. There may be a couple of lap cars in between the second Mercedes 87 and the 19 Lamborghini. For the moment, there is just fresh air behind the 2 Mercedes AMG cars, which run 1-2. Take a look at this. Artur Janos locked up down the inside. Albert Estraguez would not have seen him coming. The front right departs, and there is big damage to the front right of the Porsche. Locks up, tries to keep it clean, gets airborne.
I suspect that front right wheel might have already had something wrong with it, because you can see the steering wheel, he was moving left and right. The car wasn't changing direction at all. Then he just slammed into the Mercedes. Although it did look fairly slow, he wasn't decelerating. That was the main thing there. Wasn't decelerating, instant impact. The car, with the wheels still turning, then obviously rolls almost onto the bodywork of the Mercedes. And that's, I imagine, what caused the tethers to snap entirely and take a wheel off, which is an unusual incident to see. But, it's good that the drivers are out fine. And rescue will be taking place at turn 6 of those 2 cars. Now, with 3 minutes 16 to go, I don't think we're going to have time to get a restart.
Unlikely.
What we'll probably do is a safety car will go in on the final lap, and they'll allow them to cross the line under green flag conditions.
If we're lucky. If we're lucky. What that has done, though, is handed the championship lead comfortably to Maciej Liszalski. So just getting it right, Lishalski and Blacek, they lead the championship. This is the cup class we're referring to on 69 points, and Artur Janos and Maciej Dometko, they will get 0 out of this race here this afternoon after that accident. They are second in the championship on 51 points, but Lishalski, who is actually leading the cup class category, 19th outright from Jan Lauritsen and Dirk Schouten, as Ethan Simeone goes through at the bottom of your screen. There is lap traffic, incidentally, between Baptiste Moulin and Thomas Drouet. And there's damage also, it looks like, to the 53 Porsche. It did not look as though it was tracking too healthily. The second of the boys from Brazil down into turn 10. Great to have the 360 Racing Team drivers. Marcio Mauro, Oscar Aristot and Fernando Fortes going through the superbly presented 27 and 32 Porsche Cup cars, joining us from the Porsche Carrera Cup Brazilian Series in South America. Got a glimpse, in fact they're running together, Oscar Aristot and Fernando Fortes in the Cup M category. So Maciej Lishalski now leads the Cup category and also the Cup Championship. This is the outright championship leader.
Looks like celebrations have begun.
Just quickly, that was...
Yeah, I don't want to anticipate it too much, because when I spoke to Vincenzo and Yuki at the start of this week, they were very much like, don't jinx it, don't jinx it. So I'm not going to, say anything on that yet. Race will finish behind safety car, no overtaking until the checkered flag. So we have, unless there's a freak retirement on the last lap, I don't know.
We have a champion.
Yep.
We just heard the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Garage Meglio Così, which basically translates to better like this, is it not? So they are the champions. Michele Beretta will bring it home in 7th place. Andy Soucek 6th. But that will not be enough for the Spanish-Austrian to take the title. Frederic Schandorf, Michele Beretta will finish P7 behind the safety car in race 1, the final round of the series. They will win the 2021 GTOpen International Championship. Ethan Simeone will bring the 9 2Cs Motorsport Mercedes home for a Mercedes 1-2 for their second victory of the 2021 championship. Thomas Drouet sharing the car with the pole sitter Jim Pla. That's a great way to finish the first part of their weekend. Pole position in qualifying this morning and second on the podium here this afternoon. It's a Mercedes 1-2, but Lamborghini will win the 2021 championship. That is a sad sight to see Artur Janos retire not only from the race, but from second in the Cup Class Championship as well. Handing a strong lead. We don't think it's quite over yet for Maciej Lishalski mathematically, but in reality, Lishalski will claim, you would think, the 2021 Cup Class Championship with Maciej Blacek.
So our leading car in the title race overall, the Vincenzo Sospiri Racing Lamborghini, Frederic Schandorf, Michele Beretta, they won race 2 at Paul Ricard. They won race 2 at Spa. They won race 1 at the Hungaroring. And then they did it again the next day and won race 2. They won race 1 at the Red Bull Ring, and now they are going to win the biggest prize of them all, which is the 2021 International GTOpen title.
Something of an anticlimax, but they'll take it either way. The yellow flag, full course yellow, the safety car is out. The yellow flag will wave in conjunction with the checkered flag behind the safety car. So Ethan Simeone will win the race in just a few moments' time, down through the chicane at much reduced speed for the final time. It is going to be a Mercedes AMG 1 and 2. Ethan Simeone, Martin Kodrich for 2Cs Motorsport accelerate up to that checkered flag to win for the second time in the championship in 2021. Michele Beretta crosses the line. Frederic Schandorf stands on pit wall. He is the 2021 champion. Beretta, together with the Great Dane Schandorf, win the title for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing and the Lamborghini course team for 2021. Schandorf, Beretta in car 63 on your screen are the 2021 GTOpen International Champions. Simeone Drouet finished 1 to Baptiste Moulin. The sister VSR car finishes 3rd on the podium in the race this afternoon. Yuki and Frederick celebrate down in the pits. P1 2021, he won the Pro-Am Championship 2 seasons ago, and now he has won it outright. They celebrate car 63.
I think in the Pro-Am class battle as well, we may have a new champion as well, because Brendan Irie and Ollie Milroy came in with a 19-point advantage into this race. They've just finished ahead of Marcus Pavaruz and Jens Renaud Moller. And with 1 race to go, that mathematically, I do think they've got it. So potentially we've got a champion there. Then the AM class, Giuseppe Cipriani was 14 points ahead of Jens Leverhauser and Florian Schultz. Where's Florian Schultz in this race? He's actually changed class, hasn't he? So
that's true. That makes it even more complicated.
Yeah.
We'll just put a big asterisk and use the provisional at the end of each sentence. As we look at the race winners, there's no doubt about that. 2Cs Motorsport have done it for the 2nd time in 2021. Race 1 of the final round of the championship, of course, brought to you by the team at GT Sport, this world-class championship for some of the most spectacular supercars in the world, has been won by the drivers on the left of your screen. They only finish 6th here this afternoon, but they are P1 in the 2021 championship. Frederick Schandorf and Michele Beretta win the title at what is almost the end of what has been a spectacular season. I say almost because we've got the 14th race, race 2 of round 7, to be held in 24 hours' time. There will be immense celebrations down in pit lane in just a moment. Michele Beretta, one of the most experienced GT drivers in the world, pulls down into pit lane. It's not often that one would celebrate a 6th place, but that's what they're about to do. This team will celebrate their 2nd victory for 2021. The Canadian from the other side of the Atlantic wins it for the Bahraini English team. Ethan Simeone with Martin Kodric. The Croatian P1, it's a Mercedes 1-2 here this afternoon in Spain. Martin celebrates with Ethan the 13th race of this 14-race championship. ACA Motorsport, they took pole position this morning for race 1. The 2 French drivers, Gilles Pla and Thomas Drouet, 2nd here this afternoon. That's a good result for them. They'll be back for the final race tomorrow afternoon. Of course, qualifying tomorrow morning. And race 2, round 7, the 14th race of the 2021 championship. There are the champions for 2021, Michele Beretta and Frederick Schandorf, and there are the race winners for race 1 of 2 here this weekend at Barcelona in Spain. Well done, Ethan, the young Canadian. It's a big step up from racing GT4 on the other side of the Atlantic. Here in GT3 in this world-class series, the GTOpen International Championship. It was such a hectic race, we did not even give you a chance to talk about the 2022 championship, which is certainly looking good. 3rd place here this afternoon, Baptiste Moulin and Yuki Nomoto for VSR. 2nd, Thomas Drouet and Gilles Pla. The pole-sitting car finishes in P2. It's a Mercedes 1-2. Ethan Simeone and Martin Kodric for 2Cs Motorsport take their 2nd victory of the 2021 championship. Martin and Ethan are down in pit lane. Let's hear from the winners now.
Martin Kodric, Ethan Simeone, 2nd win in 2 participations. That's a great result.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing result. We basically finished where we started, so it's a great result for everyone, especially for the team. everyone did a great job again, and I think we are where we should be.
Listen, this debut in Europe couldn't be more successful for you.
Yeah, it's been a great run so far, really great run, but to be honest, it's all the team. You know, they put in a lot of work over the Monza break, you know, and it showed. The car is great. Martin did an incredible job, as per usual, and yeah, so far so good.
And hopefully we'll see you back next year. All the best. Thank you.
Martin Kodrich and Ethan Simeoni take the victory, their second of the 2021 season at Pla and Drouet. The French drivers ensure it's a Mercedes 1-2 and Baptiste Moulin Yukinomoto P3. P6 is enough for Michele Beretta and Frederic Schandorf to claim the 2021 International GTOpen Championship. Laurie Spinelli, finishing in 4th place, has taken the Pro-Am category as well. And Daniel Diaz Varela has taken the AM class victory for Vaporo Motorsport in another Mercedes, finishing at 12th outright in car 93. We take a look at the points for you. It is now out of reach. Schandorf and Beretta have won the championship on 142 points from Andy Soucek on 116. Of course, there is still one race tomorrow afternoon, the 14th and final race of the 2021 championship, but no one can beat the VSR duo, who finish 1-2, equal first in the championship. The highlights of race 13 of the 2021 championship. Jim Clark from pole position led the field away. It was a hectic start as the field scattered up to 3, 4, even 5 wide on the opening few corners of the race here in Barcelona. Martin Kodrich with a nice move to go through and make up places after dropping back to 5th after the first few corners. Loris Spinelli, it looked as though he was dropping smoke as Stefano Bozzoni tried to avoid the GT3 cars and spun into the gravel. That brought out the safety car for the first time. Jim Pla hung on out front as we went green. It was Mercedes Lamborghini. Schandorf down into the pits relatively early. Jan Lauritsen would ultimately finish in 2nd in the Cup category, having a great dice with Dino Zamparelli. Jim Pla handing over to Thomas Drouet. Ethan Simeoni, the Canadian, taking over from Martin Kodrich and would bring it home to the checkered flag, Martin Michalski, who would ultimately go on to win the Cup category. It was a brilliant fight between 4 supercars here in Barcelona. Andy Soucek driving as hard as he possibly would dare on the back of Loris Spinelli. There was a question mark over that car. This was the moment that brought out the safety car. A big accident between Estriguez and Janos. Out front, Michele Beretta only needed to finish in position 6. Simeoni took the victory, the race win, but the championship goes to Beretta and Schandorf, who celebrates down in pit lane. Kodrich and Simeoni win race 1 of 2 here this weekend in Spain. It is a Mercedes 1-2. Baptiste Moulin Yukinomoto on the podium in 3rd place for Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. Thomas Drouet and Jim Pla, of course, they took pole position. Jim this morning with a time of 1:43.152. They'll be back for another crack tomorrow morning for race 2 here in Spain. They finished 2nd on the podium, and their 2nd victory of 2021 after winning in atrocious conditions at the Temple of Speed in the rain a few weeks ago at Monza in the north of Italy. They've done it again here in glorious sunshine at Barcelona in Spain. Ethan Simeoni from Canada and the Croatian Martin Kodrich win race 1 of 2, round 7 of the GTOpen International Championship. Simeone and Kodric take the race victory. And here this afternoon, Michele Beretta and Frederic Schandorf finish position 6, but they have now won the 2021 championship. This has been race 13 of a 14 race season. We'll be back tomorrow morning to qualify once again. Qualifying for race 2, that's at 9 o'clock local time here in Spain. And we race green for the final time at 20 minutes past 1 local time here in Barcelona. Simeone, Kodric take the victory. They're second of 2021. Schandorf and Beretta are the new champions. We'll see you tomorrow morning qualifying for the very final race of the 2021 championship. We'll see you tomorrow morning from Barcelona in Spain.
Sorry.